Good evening, everybody. First, I want to say that I am in support of making this a historic landmark. I am a representative of two of the organizations that submitted letters in support, Niagara Falls National Heritage Area and the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center. For those of you who are not familiar with the work that we do as a heritage area, our mission is to protect, preserve, and promote natural, historic, and cultural resources in the area of Niagara Falls all the way to Fort Niagara. And a part of that is some of the projects that you've seen in the city, from the public art that we are at the forefront of, also the restoration of the Prophet Isaiah House that's over on Ontario Avenue. And our crown jewel is our Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center. We've been open for 5 years, and it also addressed some of the myths that I've seen online that people been perpetuating about the turtle is so old. The Underground Railroad Heritage Center is built inside of a customs house that was built in 1863. It was on one of the 7 sites to save in New York State. It took about a decade for community organizers and everyday people to come together to save that historic building, put it on a landmark, and then now we've converted it successfully into our Underground Railroad Heritage Center. And I think that's very important to understand and to put on the record, so that anytime somebody comes and says, oh, the turtle is too old, it's been sitting for 20 years, well, that customs house has been sitting since 1863. But you can go there tomorrow, right? So that's important that we make sure we put that on the record, right? The other point is that the turtle is a part of not only our cultural heritage, but it's a part of our cultural heritage tourism, right? We always talk about revenue. The city needs to bring in revenue. You need to make sure that we preserve these cultural assets to make sure that this potentially generates revenue, because there's nowhere in the world that you can go to see that turtle. Nowhere. It only exists here, right? There's people that come here to see it and it's not even open. Think about the value of that, right? It has an inherent value to it. You could never replace that with a hotel. Never, right? So it's important that we preserve our cultural heritage and understand that we create these cultural heritage tourism landmarks, and we can bring people here to this city on a more consistent basis. Not waiting for people to come and do that for us, but to look what's right in our own backyard and say we need to preserve this and make sure that this is a space that people will come and be able to visit. You see people going to other places around this country that don't have nowhere near what we have here in our backyard. Nowhere near that, right? You go to places, they don't have the falls. They don't have none of the Underground Railroad history that actually happens here. They don't have any of that, but they know how to utilize the assets that they have, where people will go and see this small museum that they actually have there to highlight some of the people that were born in that area. How many people have checked out Polly King's gallery? She is a very, very prominent artist here in the city of Niagara Falls. We put panels of her portraits on a Gens building in Niagara Falls. We usually don't hear this administration acknowledging that. People drive by Niagara Falls and act like we didn't just do that, right? But you have people who come from around the world just to look up and say, wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. We need to do the same thing with the turtle and all of these other different assets that we have here. My last point is, any of the members on this preservation board indigenous? We need an indigenous person on this board in terms of representation. We need that. So, thank you.